welcome to Armstrong Auditorium, Miss Sant'Ambrogio.
Thank you.
And welcome to all of those who will be joining us today on Periscope. I'm Sherry Beasley, and today we'll be in the lobby with world-renowned Grammy-award winning cellist Sara Sant'Ambrogio. So, Miss Sant'Ambrogio, thank you for being here with us today in Armstrong.
It's my pleasure.
Well, I wanted to ask you about music in your family. I know you come from a long line of musicians in your family, including your father. So what led you to pursue the cello?
Well, actually, I was started on the piano when I was 2 with my mom teaching me. And I liked the piano. I kind of was like goofing off until I was 4. And then when I was 4, I started playing Bach for the first time. And that just, it was like I came alive. Suddenly, I was like, my whole brain just lit up, and I just loved it. But I also, at around 4 and a half, I heard The Swan by Camille Saint-Saëns, and it's so beautiful because I had gone to a performance of the Symphony of Carnival of the Animals, and when the cello played The Swan, I was like, that's my instrument, that's the one. But I was really tiny, and I'm not like the biggest girl. And so my father, who was a professional cellist, was worried that I would never be big enough to play a full size. And so he kept sort of pushing me off. He gave me a violin, and that just did not work. I sounded like a cat in heat. And I traded that to my sister, my older sister, for a book that she had that I really wanted, which had beautiful pictures in it. And she's now a professional violinist. But I kept asking for that cello. So every Christmas, every birthday, I would have my gift list, and it would be like cello, puppy, pony, or cello, pony, puppy. But cello was always number 1. And then when I was 6, my mom took me to the shoe store to buy school shoes. And when we were having dinner that night, my mom remarked to my dad about how it was so funny that I'm such a little kid, but my feet were bigger than my older sister, who was 2 years older than I was, and a lot bigger. And my dad was like, really? Hold up your hand. So I held up my hand, which you can see I have massive hands, unbelievably long fingers, and my feet are really big too. It's kind of surprising. It was like I was built to play the cello. And so my dad was like, oh, you're definitely going to be big enough to play a cello. So I got a cello then when I was 6. And at that point, I just went great guns. I love the cello because it's the voice of the cello is all within the human voice range. So it seemed to me, even at that age, it was the best instrument for expressing your emotions and to be able to speak directly to the human heart. And I also, as a little kid, liked the fact that I was hugging it when I was playing it, and it was like my size, and so it could be like my best friend. And so I liked that a lot. And I also used it to protect myself against my bigger sister because it was really big, So.
Well, thank you. Oh, and tonight, your cello that you'll be performing on tonight, it's a Johannes Galliano from Napoli, and it's from about the year 1800, is that right?
Yeah.
What led you to this particular instrument?
Oh, I love this cello. After I won Tchaikovsky competition in the Soviet Union, at the time I had like a $500 cello, and everybody, like I was playing with Josh Bell, who had a Stradivarius, and I was playing on this orange New York cello that was worth $500, and everybody kept saying you need to get a better instrument, but they're really expensive, and I was a full-time student, and so I didn't have the money. So Rudolf Serkin said to me, find the cello and I'll help you find the money. And I thought, I can't imagine that that's true. But he said, no, I'm serious. So I was like, so when I came back from Tchaikovsky competition, a lot of the shops knew that I might be able to get funding to buy an instrument. So they all started calling me with these different instruments. And I looked for about a year, or actually for about 2 years. But everything I found was either just seemed way too expensive to possibly ask anyone to lend me the money, or it just wasn't right. And then someone who knew my playing for quite a number of years, because they had been in Philadelphia when I was at the Curtis Institute of Music as a 16-year-old, went to work at a shop in Chicago called Bayan and Fushi. And she called me and told me about this cello. And she said, I think it's the perfect instrument for you. It just fits your personality. So I was playing Schumann Concerto with the St. Louis Symphony a few weeks later, and I said, well, bring it down from Chicago, and I'll take a look. And I played on it for about 20 minutes, and I knew it was the one for me. And so I called Mr. Turkin, and I said, I found a cello. And he goes, how much do you need? And I said, in the next 24 hours, I need this much, because I'm leaving the country, and I want to take it with me. And then I need the rest, like, in a month. And he found it for me. It was incredible. I got a number of loans from partly from Marlboro, which Mr. Serkin had set up a fund to help young musicians, the Mendelssohn Fund, and then partly from a few other patrons, and I was able to pay it off actually faster than I had, the contract said, because I just put every penny I made into paying it off. And so I love it. I love this instrument. I just think he's particularly good for the name. He also is similar to me in that he's the youngest of an entire family of multi-generations of instrument makers, and he really focused in on cellos, which is a little bit more unusual because it takes so much more time. Most makers really focused on the violin because you could make more quickly, and it was more of a solo instrument, so you'd probably be able to sell them more easily. So I think of the entire family, I think he made the best cellos, and I love that cello.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing it tonight.
He feels like he's my baby. Yeah, and I actually wrote a series of children's stories with him because I call him Charlie the cello. He's a very happy fellow. And so I wrote a bunch of children's stories with Charlie as the main character, with his boy, who they are like pals, and they go on these adventures together and stuff. It's fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, our next question was, so this is your second time here being at Armstrong Auditorium. I believe your last time was with the Aroka Trio in 2011. But what is your impression of the venue here at Armstrong?
Oh, it's spectacular. It's really, the acoustics in the hall are unbelievable, but also the beauty of the hall, of the outer, areas like the lobby here, and also the backstage. Most backstages are really very bare bones. And the backstage here is beautiful, which to me, I really appreciate because I am always looking for inspiration from everything in my surroundings at every moment of every day. And so when you're surrounded by beauty, you just play better because it inspires you to try to create even more beauty in what you're doing. So I love it. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It's astonishing that such a great venue it's kind of like a surprise it's like this jewel that you find that you're not expecting, and it's really, I feel like this area is very, very fortunate to have such a beautiful hall and just such a great space for making art.
Well, thank you.
Just one more.
Oh, one more question? Okay, well, great. Let's see, you've won a Grammy, the International Tchaikovsky Violoncello Competition that you mentioned. So you've devoted your life to music and you communicate so much through your cello. But I'd just like to finish by asking, is there anything else you'd like to add for those who are joining us on Periscope today?
Wow, I just think that one of my sort of life's aims is to promote how relevant and alive classical music is, because I think that sometimes lately there's a sort of false misconception that classical music is very formal or is not relevant to our lives today. And in fact, these composers are writing about the human condition, about our emotions, about love and loss and joy and heartache. And there's something incredibly magical about the power of music, and particularly classical music. You can take, as a performer particularly, you can take an experience that was painful and maybe ugly, and through the process of pouring it into your music, you transform it into something so beautiful. And then when the audience is able to join in with that performance, it uplifts us all. It makes you feel not alone, and it's almost magical in its ability to turn something that might be ugly into something incredibly beautiful and uplifting. And it's all about what we're experiencing now, because no matter when you lived, we are all human beings. We're all experiencing joy and heartache and love and loss and tragedy and success, and classical music, because it's so rich, can express that in a way that almost no other art form can, and in a way that's very much alive today. And so part of what I want to do, and I've been trying to do all my life, is to bring this music to as many people as I can, to give them that tool for joy and for happiness. And And it's a universal language. No matter where I go, it speaks to, no matter what language you speak or what religion you are, it speaks to you and it includes you. It's a very inclusive art form. So I hope that people will come to more concerts, not just of mine, but other artists, and make classical music be a part of their day-to-day living, because I think it enriches everyone.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us on Periscope for our interview today.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking with you. We can't wait for your performance tonight.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And then thank you to all those who joined us on Periscope today. This is Sherry Beasley with Sara Sant'Ambrogio at Armstrong Auditorium. We'll see you later.